Hello, in this tutorial we will talk about autoboxing and unboxing. Autoboxing is the automatic conversion that the Java compiler makes from the primitive types to their corresponding object wrapper classes, while unboxing is the opposite. It is automatic conversion that the Java compiler makes from the wrapper classes to their corresponding primitive. Those are samples for autoboxing. We have to know that the values of numbers and characters are by default primitive data, and we will see that in the practical sample. As we notice in this line, we are assigning the character value C into the character wrapper variable C, which means that an autoboxing process is occurred. The same thing in the next line, a primitive integer value 6 is assigned into wrapper integer variable I. In the third example, autoboxing is occurred in the line that assigned the value of the primitive double variable Z into the wrapper double variable E. Let's now have a look on some examples for unboxing. In that example, the unboxing is occurred when assigning the value of the wrapper variable I into primitive integer variable J. In the next sample, as we notice, we have a method f that accepts a primitive integer argument. The unboxing in this case is occurred when pass the value of the primitive integer variable a as primitive integer argument into the method f. As in this case, the conversion is occurred from the wrapper type into the primitive type. Let's now perform some practical samples by ourselves. In this practical sample, we will perform some autoboxing and unboxing examples. Let's for example say primitive integer x equals 6. As we see in this line, this is autoboxing, and as we see, it is compiling successfully. In the next line, if we say primitive int y equals x, this is unboxing, and it is also compiling successfully. In the first line, there is an automatic conversion occurred from primitive to wrapper class, while in the second line, the opposite is occurred. The wrapper is converted to primitive. Also, if we say x equals y, it is autoboxing. And when we say y equals new integer 3 or any integer value, in this case it is also unboxing. Okay, there are also some other different forms for autoboxing and unboxing. Let's for example declare a method that takes a primitive argument integer, and let's declare it as static method, and let's print something inside this method. Let's for example print the name and the parameter of the method, and in this case let's pass a wrapper variable into this primitive variable. So we'll pass the wrapper integer variable x, and as we see, it is compiling successfully. And in this line there is an unboxing is occurred, and that's because we have converted a wrapper into primitive. Let's now try to make the opposite. Let's declare this x as wrapper integer, and in this line let's pass the primitive variable instead of the wrapper variable. And as we see, it is compiling successfully, but in this case autoboxing is occurred, not unboxing. Okay, let's also declare another overloading f method, but this overloaded method will take a primitive int. Okay, let's now remove this line, and now let's call f of x, and in the next line let's call f of y. And the question now, what will this line print and what will this line print? Let's run and see. As we notice, the first one printed f of integer x as it is passed by wrapper integer variable, while the next one printed f of int x since it is passed by primitive int variable. And if we have removed any of those overloaded methods, the code will also compile successfully without any problem. Let's remove the other one. and it's also compiling successfully without any problem, and we know the reason due to the occurrence of autoboxing and unboxing. Okay, let's return back the other method again. Okay, and now let's call f of 5. In this case, what do you expect this line to print? Will it print f of integer x or f of int x? What do you expect? Let's run and see by ourselves. As we see, it printed f of primitive int x. That's because, as we mentioned in the beginning of the tutorial, the values of numbers and the characters are by default primitive data. And if we performed new integer and pass 5 to this integer object, in this case, when we run this code, it will print f of wrapper integer x, and that's because we have passed an object of the same data type for this data type, so that this method is called not this one. Okay, let's now declare another primitive integer variable z, and let's say z equal 3, for example, and inside this f let's pass x plus z. As you notice, we are now passing the addition of two wrapper integer variables. What do you expect the result to be when we run this code? Will it print this sentence or this sentence? And notice we are adding two wrapper integer variables. But let's run and see what will be the result. But it printed f of primitive n. Why and how? As we know, if we passed only x and if we pass only y, it will print f of wrapper integer, as we see. But when we add them, they are passed as primitive data, not wrapper data. And the reason is the arithmetic operations returns primitive data. And the same thing will occur if we also make multiplication, as we see, if we make modulus, and the same thing when we make also division. Okay, in this tutorial we talked about autoboxing and unboxing. We learned when they occurred, and we have performed some practical examples performing autoboxing and unboxing. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.